Hi, welcome to my week 4 oral presentation. My name is Amanda Betcher, and today I'm doing I Can See It All Over Your Face, The Constants Across Cultures in Face and Emotion by Paul Ekman and W. Friesen. This covers social psychology, and the study is about the universality of facial expressions. Are facial expressions consistent across cultures? So the significance of this study is that prior to Ekman and Friesen's work, it was believed that all facial expressions associated with emotion were cultural specific and were not understood by members of another culture. So if I were to immerse into another culture, I wouldn't be able to understand their facial expressions. That was the belief. In actuality, facial expressions are innate, and it may have been a way of survival, to show fear, to indicate dangerous situations. So Ekman and Friesen conducted several different studies. So their first study, the research worked with individuals who were college educated from different countries around the world, such as Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Japan, and United States. Ekman and Friesen showed the participants photographs of individual faces and asked them to identify which emotion correlated with which facial expression. Both Ekman and Friesen decided that they needed more specific evidence in their research because the individuals in this study may have been exposed to Western-based facial expressions through mass media, movies, that sort of thing. And because they were had seen those things, it was immersed into their culture, and it could have influenced their response. So, to ensure that their participants had not been influenced in any way, Ekman and Friesen went to South Highlands of New Guinea. So that's pretty far. They found the most isolated group, the South Four tribe. The participants in their study consisted all of non-English speaking individuals with zero knowledge of Western culture. So they had 198 adults, 130 children, and they also added 23 adults who had knowledge of Western culture. So after several attempts, Ekman and Friesen found that they were able to show the participants 3 different photographs of faces, each photo showing a different expression. These were the same photos that they used in the first study. Ekman and Friesen used a wide range of faces with their participants. So 24 different individuals, all men, women, and children, with a total of 6 different emotions. So the participants were told a short story that would elicit different emotions. So each story was constructed specifically to elicit only one emotion: happy, sad, anger, surprise, disgust, and fear. So the participants were then provided with 3 photos showing a different emotion. So there's 3 photos, and they were to match which photo matched the emotion of the story. So the same experiment was conducted on the children. So there was 130 children, but the children only had 2 photos instead of 3. And so to ensure the research was not biased, Ekman and Friesen took a lot of precautions. They created teams to conduct the research that consisted of 1 member from the research team, which was a Westerner, and 1 member from the South Four tribe. They had translators that received special instruction and training on how to translate the story accurately and how to not influence their participants. The Westerners on the team were not to look at the participants. Their only job was to record the answers. So, excuse me, they wanted the participants not to be exposed to any Western culture facial expressions. That's why the Westerners, the research team members, weren't able to look at the participants. The research shows that the participants were able to recognize the correct facial expression to the emotion from cultures other than their own, with no prior knowledge of that culture. Therefore, facial expressions are universal. There was no difference between the men and women identifying the facial expressions. And interestingly, the participants chose surprise more than half the time when it should have been fear. This could be due to the first emotion prior to fear, but before you're afraid, you're surprised. So it could have been related to that. And Ekman and Friesen, we wanted to make sure their findings were correct, so they videoed the participants from the South 4 tribe showing these emotions, and then they took these tapes and they showed them to college students in the United States, and the college students were asked to identify these facial expressions. The intended facial expressions matched the college students' answers correctly, so that validated their research. So some pros on this study is that Ekman and Friesen took a lot of precautions to ensure their study was legitimate. And they used a wide variety of participants in this study: college-educated individuals, the individuals from the South 4 tribe, college students in the United States. I feel like there were 3 parts of this study, which made it very thorough. Some of the cons is that the actual experiment was conducted with only one culture. So I know nowadays it's hard to find cultures that are not influenced by the Western culture, but it was only conducted with one culture. And also I found an article called "Facial Expressions of Emotion Are Not Culturally Universal" from 2012. It states that with their computer graphic platform, they were able to see fine details of facial expressions of Americans and Asians. They found that the facial expression signals have since evolved and diverse to serve the primary role of communication during social interaction. As a result, these biological hardwired universal signals have been molded by the diverse social ideologies and practices of the culture groups who use them for social communication. So basically that's saying that yes, these are hardwired into our brains, but our cultures are tweaking those facial expressions specifically for our communication needs, not necessarily survival needs. I think this study is very interesting, and everybody should be interested in this because it's a reminder that we are all basically hardwired the same. So it is something that we all take for granted, that a smile means the same thing in all cultures. And as a sign language interpreter, it'd be interesting for me to see if all the little nuances in ASL translate to other indigenous cultures that have their own sign language, such as eyebrows going up, that indicates a yes/no question. Eyebrows down indicate the answers will be more than just a yes/no. So I did some research, but I couldn't really find much on that topic. I'd be interested interested in learning more about that if I could. So thanks for watching my video. Have a great day, and I look forward to watching yours. Bye.